quarters the amount, and you'll feel it out. And so for me, I want a coffee mug to be definitely smaller than my fist in the amount of clay, and then we'll go there. And so from the starting point, everything's exactly the same. A little round ball. Oh, you know what? That's okay.
You want a bat?
No, I didn't. So I didn't do the whole padding thing, right? Such a small amount of clay. I didn't do it, right? So, but it's good to learn. I always do that for bigger ones, but I'm ready to go. So I'm going to center this clay by getting this wheel going warp speed, and then get a bunch of water on there. And I'm going to do the way that I like to center for small amounts, which is by squeezing my hands kind of together and towards myself. So it's kind of like pulling and squeezing, and you can see where the contact is there. And I push down with this. So this is kind of my preferred centering method for small amounts. And I can roll it right into that squeeze up. So I get it back into that. So that's kind of one way to go. And then I'll move over to that one. Have you guys been practicing the different moves?
Your thumb's crossed.
Yeah, because the clay's so small.
Yeah.
I can't, look, see? I have to overlap my hands to get around this clay with this small amount. And so now I'm just going to go in one more time. And the keys, right? Everything's the same as I first did. My elbows are in, I'm applying pressure, I'm holding steady, and I'm easing off. And I got it 95% centered. So I'm ready to go here. And so I'll go to step 2. And you'll see me maybe start to do things a little differently than maybe I taught you, but they're very minor little things. I go in with one thumb on a little tiny piece because 2 thumbs is just too big. And so it's fine to start doing things that work for you. But now I go in with my middle finger. I'm a little bit off center, so I'm going to hold myself really, really stable and steady. And I'll ease out so you can see step 2 there. And remember, the key to that one is a little bit of a back angle on your fingers. Don't try to drill straight down. Keep this at a little back angle like this. So it's like a cone within a cone. And I just misfired all those examples I made last week. They're on the table there. I'll make another board. So okay, a little bit of water. Now this is flattening the floor. And now I'm just stretching my fingers, my fingertip. Ooh, I got a little air bubble or something. Feel it. So you can see that I really focused on flattening that floor and undercutting my fingertip in there.
Wow, that's really
And so now I'm going to start talking about, yeah, it's really undercutting.
really
And that's kind of my style for throwing the cylinder. And that's what, to me, is the key to being able to get that clay off. Get that clay off. So yeah, there is an air bubble that popped. Oh, I didn't do a good wedging job. So I'll get through. So now actually is the point where I got to start thinking about the proportions of my cup. And it's really pretty simple, but I should make this as wide as I want my cup to be. Because if you don't have to stretch or bring out your floor, it's a heck of a lot easier. It's hard to stretch and bring out your floor on a cylinder because clay's got to come from somewhere and go in. So just start with the way you want it. So we'll make a cylinder about this wide. And so now I do this move where I get my fingertips back in there and I lock my hands in together and I'll bring this all up and then ease out of it.
You keep the wheel going pretty fast.
My wheel's actually not going very fast. I prefer to throw at a slower speeds than a lot of people do. Some people are fast throwers, some are slow. The kick wheels, they sometimes lose momentum as you're pulling, so you might start out kind of fast and slow down. But these little cups, there's no. My top was a little bit off center, right? Nicked it with my finger or whatever it may be. Whenever you have that, try to this is called setting the lip. So you see how I do that? By pinching with my left fingertips there. It's a really light pinch. And then I just take my right finger, touch them to my other fingers, and just hold it all there, and then let go. And that does a couple things. It centers it, thickens up your lip a little bit, and it also compresses all the clay. And so as I throw this cup and finish it, I'll be talking about how to finish the lip. because we didn't really care that much about the cylinder. We were looking at shape. And so by starting at this point, just that little intermediary step will get me a better lip in the end. So I'm going to clean out my bottom here, and if you guys want to see in there, I'll just stop the wheel and you can see. So my bottom's kind of okay, right? But here's a little trick that I do, and some people do this. They use a throwing stick. And so this is my throwing stick, bamboo. I just cut it off of the kitchen tool. Yeah, so it's got, mine's got a little bit of a curve to it. You might want that in a cup, because if you have a totally square cylinder cup, it's actually not very good.
The chocolate gets stuck in the corner.
Yeah, the coffee will get stuck in the corner, you know, little bits or whatever it is. And so you don't necessarily need it like a right angle, right? But you want it more or less that way for a cylinder to make it structured. But I always on cups use a tool like this, and I can do it at this stage or I can do it later sometimes, but I'll just spin the wheel slowly, and I hold this tool at 3 o'clock, and I hold it at that little bit of a back angle there, and you'll see a little, and I could push the clay out too if I want a little bit wider. And now I can move it into the middle, and I can make a swirl if I want. Right, and it leaves that mark there.
Let's see the swirl.
Yeah.
I don't like the swirl personally, and so I'm going to take it away in a second. But you can do whatever you want. You can use your fingers, but the tool really compresses the bottom too, and it makes a nice, even. You can go back and forth. You can spend some time. And so what I have after I'm done here is I have a whole bunch of paint stirrers that I cut a little shorter. You guys can each have one, and you can try it with these. So the rounded side works fine, or the square. If you use the squared off side, use a little piece of sandpaper. We have some up there. You can soften it, and you just hold it the same way. Hold that little angle. Or the clay store sells bamboo sticks. I just made mine out of a little thing. And so I'm going to go back in there and remove the. And then I have them. I think they're called elephant ear sponges. They're like natural sponges, right, from the ocean. They're natural. Yeah. And I squeeze a little water on the wall there. And now I'm going to use my fingertip going through the sponge. Here, I'll pick a thin spot so you guys can see. And you'll see that I just lock my left hand right above my right hand, so my thumb and my middle finger are kind of in line. And they lock together, and I just give a little squeeze there. I'm going to give my wheel one kick. And now here's pulling up the wall in the cylinder. And as I come up, I'm going to slowly release my pressure. And then let go at the top.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So it's got a little bit of a cone to it, which is a good shape for me to go back in and give it one more pull. And so generally you want to take the most of your pressure at the very bottom, and you kind of lock in, and as you go up, you slowly release your pressure so that when you get up to the very top, it's almost like you have no pressure at all by the time you get to the very, very top. And that's what will give you that even wall. If you lock in and just keep your pressure, you're going to have a tapered wall, because it's so easy to pull the clay up on the top, you overdo it, and you'll get this razor thin lip of your cup. And so, you know, sometimes thin lips on cups can be good for certain things, but generally speaking, you don't want them too thin. They chip, and they're too thin, they break.
If you get a thin spot
So I'll do one more. Yeah, go ahead.
in your wall, if it's thin here and then thick again, can you sort of do a reverse?
You can. You can throw down. Yeah. Tricky on a small thing with thin walls, but yeah, it's doable. It's doable. Okay, so I'm back in there. You guys can see my little lump, right, as we go up. And this time I'm focusing on not having it come in as a cone so much, because I was going for a simple cylinder. And as I get up to the very top, my pressure is almost gone. So, it's a mug. That's what we were going for, right? Cool. So very, very basic, right? And so let me focus on the lip just a tiny bit more, and then I'll do a couple other things to maybe make it more interesting. This is a piece of leather on a little fishing bobber. And so I have a whole bunch. I'll pull them out, and you guys can cut them and stick them on there. The bobber is so you don't lose the leather, because it looks like clay, right? And it sticks on there. And then this is setting the lip like I did with my finger or a sponge. You can do it. Some people use a piece of paper towel or a piece of plastic is fine too. But I always just kind of learn this way and I use it. And the way you do it is you hold this thing almost vertical with a little bit of a back angle. And you just want that bottom edge to catch. And then as it goes down, I kind of just let it fold over and my fingertips come inward like that. See that? That's a really pretty thick lip for a mug. Totally fine, but it probably wouldn't drink that well. It might be a little bit too thick. I can actually thin it out by squeezing like that. And I also brought it in a little bit. So I can play with it a little. And get my finger in there. And now I'll push it back down and leave it like that. So one thing you can do, so that's one, is to finish the lip somehow. What I would avoid doing, if you can, don't flare your lip outward and have it be the widest part of your cup. You know what I mean by that? You can have a flared lip that comes out, but you need to have something else, other part of your cup that sticks out further. Because a flared lip that doesn't have some other bumper is gonna be a broken lip, guaranteed. Put it in the cupboard and you're just gonna break the lip because it's sticking out there. And so I personally prefer a little tapered in lip. And so you can go through and so that we'll keep it simple. These are getting into the subtleties, right? Still a cylinder, but I made this little touch to the lip coming in. And so now what about the throwing lines? I could leave them as is. Right?
And be loose.
I'm gonna get a little water out of there. See how I do that? You can put a little stick with the sponge on it. Why don't I use a rib and see if I can make some rib? Actually, let's leave it. I'll do it on the next one as we can go through. Okay, so now if I were to finish this, I got all this clay down here, right? Sometimes a nice mug shape is that you do have a wider bottom and it can kind of be stable and it's the widest point down there and it can be something, but I don't really like this little spot right here where it's too narrow. So I'll use this stick that you guys can see. You can see these can also come in handy. You can't really get your finger in there. You can use a stick at this point and gently push this out.
Whoa, that's gonna take real finesse.
So it's subtle.
Jeez.
No,
Don't you think?
all tucked back. So just get one of these things and play around with it. It's a throwing stick basically, and you could try it and you go through. So anyway, that made a little bit of a bottom. And you guys, can you grab that cup that has the monkey on it? I really, if it's still here, yeah. See? She's got that at the bottom. Just hold it up, Judy. Just straight up and down. Look at the handle. There you go. See how the handle is connected to that fat part? If you're gonna put a handle on a mug, it's nice to have a spot for the handle connection to go. And so just a real general design principle, rule of thumb if you want, is that put your handle, either the top or the bottom should connect at the widest point of your mug. If you do that, it's almost foolproof that it's gonna be balanced in some way, unless you have some kind of really funky shape. And so for this one, I could put my handle from there, and it can hit that little hip down there. So you can see, you can think ahead. It might take a while, a few cups before you're there, but you can think ahead. And so I don't really like the shape right now, because now that I have that, this looks awkward, this little bell. So I'm gonna use the knife and cut out excess clay at the bottom, because I have it, and then I'll check my form there. So I'm gonna push this straight down. So you use the pointy part and you push down. So you guys might be practicing that on your cylinders, and that's really good. And you get this little ring here. Then you take it like a knife cutting straight down, and you can spin the wheel. You see how the kick wheel is so nice for doing stuff like this? This is why I prefer throwing small stuff on the kick wheel. It's just a lot nicer than dealing with some kind of touchy little pedal, and you don't really need the power.